Okay, so this is the third video, just telling my story, how I kind of stumbled through trial and error to a place where I actually started getting better, okay? But coming from a very bad place, okay? So basically, I sort of ended the last video just how after losing a bunch of jobs, ending up in a situation where I just felt overwhelmed, tried to kill myself, tried to kill myself and then couldn't live with my mom, and basically had to at age 40 just live in you know terrible neighborhood with actually I really came to have a lot of affection for the person that I lived with. He was a convicted felon, but I really just developed I don't know, kind of like a special I don't know what to say. It was a very special connection. It really I don't know. I couldn't even say I came to love the person. Which is it's just amazing. I mean, it was just I had never experienced rock bottom, and it was really kind of almost disgusting experience. But there were some beautiful parts to it. But in any case, I was in a place where I guess I learned just by experience that when you're under enough despair, enough stress, enough kind of like seeing your world upside down, it's more than stress. It's like despair. It's amazing how whatever elements are inside you sort of really come out in their worst form. And I don't personally think of all that as mental illness. I think the word illness is a really terrible term. These are conditions. And I just think how we have come to medicalize these phenomena, I I am really uncomfortable. I don't see the medicalization. I mean, maybe there are some people that really have an illness. I'll leave the book open for schizophrenia, and maybe some people that have very, very spontaneous bipolar. I'm willing to consider that as an illness. But in my case, I had kind of bipolar symptoms or hypomanic, delusional, even borderline psychotic symptoms. And in my case, I think it was brought about by as a reaction, to the despair and stress. So I don't look at those as being illnesses. I think those are my witchcraft components, my natural inherited components, and how they come out under real despair. That just brings out. We call it the crazy, but maybe it's not crazy at all. Maybe it's what humans are like when they're under a certain level of despair. That's just welcome to the human being. So I don't see it as crazy. It is not civilized. It's not a civilized sanity. I mean, it is definitely the wilder side. And it is kind of like I guess crazy is kind of the word. It's sort of like, but it's not sick. I mean, it's just that's what humans are. I mean, and every human's different. Some people are much less prone to the so-called psychosis. But I just think of even the psychosis, at least in my case, as being just an expression of what humans are like under certain conditions. That's just I just don't see the medicalization. You know, I, Sometimes I wonder if I have mild epilepsy because I have seen things in my life that kind of make me think of whether I get seizures, temporal lobe seizures. I have thought about that, but that I'm going to leave that all kind of on the table because I think maybe even mild seizures are just part of the human condition. Just depends on what situation you're in. Um, but I'll leave that alone because I know some of those epilepsies can come from lesions in the brain and stuff. So I'm not gonna go too far with my my natural theory. But I do think a lot of what we call mental illness really is just the human. It's just the human, but in different situations. Um, and I do believe that almost everything about me on the reactive level is just components of just the human endowment, the inheritance from thousands and thousands of years, just all these, being arrogant, being bossy, being, shameful, whatever, being crazy. These are all just, all just elements of what we've inherited and what it is to be a human being. Okay, but obviously, I was in a situation that was, really unstable, unhinged, zero control. I mean, I was at the mercy of my craziness, and I was beyond, being compelled by my reactive self. My reactive self just blew up. I was just in a meltdown, basically. Um, it's hard to say exactly how I put it together because I was getting the monthly, Social Security disability, which in the end turned out to be a real nightmare. But at least at the time, I was getting those checks. I could just pay the rent, for my room, the room that I was living in, and just barely, go to the grocery store, and just, eat, whatever. And at some point I tried to get a job in a call center, and I actually did get the job, and that job didn't turn out too good. I still wasn't in a great place, but had a few more kind of hiccups, and tried to do some things, but ended up losing that job once again. And I tried to get in a relationship, and that was just a disaster. That person herself was very cluster B, and it just, I didn't have the resources, the mental resources to be in a relationship, and I should have known that. But I slowly, stupidly, slowly getting the hammer, hitting my head over the hammer of experience, and just slowly, I just woke up one day and say I cannot be in a relationship. So that was the first time that something came on, like a light came on, and I just knew that I had to stop the bullshit. You know, And so once again, I was back at the house of this guy. He had me back in his house, this convicted felon who really, I really came to love him. And he was a really wonderful, well, I came to love him. I don't think anybody's wonderful. But the bottom line is, I was back at the rock bottom, you know. But this time I told myself there's no more relationships. And actually, it's funny because I said that, and then there was one more. But the next relationship was not so much a relationship. It was more like two people who liked being around each other, but there was no pretending that it was a relationship. It was just kind of like a friendship with a lot of, whatever you want to call it. But it was like, basically something was changing, slowly, slowly. I mean, of course. And it was I think it was healthy in the sense that it was totally mutual, and there was there was no weird expectations, or, whatever. But the bottom line is that I was still in a very bad place, but I was kind of slowly starting to get some boundaries that I didn't have before that. But I still wasn't quite on a path to really address, like, really address the issue of having a personality disorder. Not quite there. I was just starting to develop some very, very minor boundaries. And after a few more chapters of life and a few more issues, it kind of dawned on me another little tiny insight. The first insight was that I couldn't have a relationship. That was very clear. The second was just a slow, kind of very slow insight that I had to recondition my metabolism to not be so accustomed to getting satisfactions. Okay, now that was the most important insight that I got. That somehow I could see how the pattern in my life was that I needed to have much, much more resistance, much more resistance to the daily chaos of, stimulations, and just the even the things like in an office, some frustrating things happen in the office. There's pressure, there's little temptations all over the place, and you just have to have much more, to live in this world. You have to have much more resistance to all the prodding and stimulations that take place in an adult life. So I started, the light came on for me that I had to develop resistance to any kind of stimulation. So it just occurred to me that I had to go super minimalistic. Okay, so I decided to eat just once a day and not even to eat too much and not to eat anything really tasty. I just made beans and vegetables and just an egg, and just, maybe some fruit, yogurt, and nothing else. There was no, I took all the sparkles out of my life. I took all the pepperoni, the whatever, the flavors. And I just ate once a day and not that much and just drank water, and there was just no more flavor. There was no more stimulation. And I knew it was going to be really, really hard because I had never lived under any kind of resistance. I never had to resist anything. But I knew that I had to not only not have satisfactions, but I also knew somehow that I had to come down. The flaming had to come down. The flames had to come down. So I had to really try to find a calm life. And I thought of it as like living in pajamas. I mean, it sounds crazy, but I had to kind of live in pajamas and sort of turn my life into a bologna sandwich. Of course, I don't eat bologna, but I say bologna sandwich because that's kind of like come down off the high horse and come down to the lowest, whatever. So it's kind of like bologna sandwich life, um, metaphorically, right? And just to calm down and just kind of feel like you're in pajamas, just bring the flames down. And so slowly, it was really hard to do. I mean, it was just totally unnatural, but I just kind of slowly got my metabolism much, much different. And I just took walks and didn't try to take hard, fast walks, just slow, comfortable walks, everything low stress and just low stress, calm, calm, calm. It went totally against my nature, but I just believed in it. This was a place of belief, and it was a place of even like faith. That this had to be a good option. And slowly, my body always wants to get teased up. And I had to do crazy things, like I had to stop watching certain videos. I had to stop certain habits. And again, it was just a pain in the ass. It was nothing that I wanted to do, but I just did it because I just believed in it. And it really was like probably similar to someone who stopped doing drugs. Like just, it's not what you want to do, but you just do it because you believe in it. And slowly, I can't say I ever came totally calm, because I think my body, my metabolism wants to ignite the flames. Okay, that's just part of me, but I had to bring it down as much as I could. And and it actually took me about maybe 4 years for my body to really adapt to that. And really, it's amazing because all the delusions that I had started coming down. All the kind of like borderline psychosis started coming down. The hypomania, not all at once, but it just started coming down. I mean, nothing overnight. It literally took like 4 years to just bring down, 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 down the flames, basically. And that's where I finally got my body to a place where I could meaningfully get into that place from the theory that I was talking about with the phenomenology, where there has to be a place where you can have all your witchcraft elements, all your native, primitive elements. These are all the reactive components of the reactive self. But then to have like a space for deliberation, for reasoning, for planning, for second thoughts. And that space comes, I think, from, what Martin Heidegger calls the Dasein, or, sort of having a resonance with being itself. But you can't just go there. You have to get your body prepared for it. Okay. And what I did accidentally was getting myself prepared to actually have a place where I could be in that place, to have more space. But I had to build it through basically, not eating anything pleasurable, not having any. I mean, it sounds really, really crazy, and I don't know that this will work for everybody. This is what will work for me. But going into this path of minimalism, and maybe 4 years to really come down, I finally found a place where my flames were down enough that I could have space to even entertain, get into the place of that theory of the phenomenological theory that I described in those 3 videos. So anyway, that's basically the story, and basically it was minimalism. So yeah. There you go.